Hey, good morning.
Hey, hello,
Why does it say
everyone.
zero? Oh, okay. Now we have 10 people in the chat. Good morning, sports cards fans, and welcome back to Hobby Hotline. My name is Dan from Four Collectors and from this channel right here. And I am very, very happy to welcome my good friend and yours, Orlando. How are you, sir, this morning?
Doing fantastic this morning. Went out on a quick walk and did a little live stream right before the show.
Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry. I was doing my show prep, you know.
Well, it was hard enough for you to recover.
Which generally includes taking a shower.
It was hard for me to recover from last night Because I'm Carlos show.
Yeah, I stayed a little late. And then I'll tell you, after the show was over, backstage, we chatted for like an hour. It was a lot of guys, like Bobby Burrell and Scott and Mike Ham was there for a while. Eric quickly left because, it was his birthday. So, happy birthday to Eric. So, all right, we got 20 in the chat. Let me say hello to everybody. Hurry. Oh, okay. 10 minutes. Well, we were on time. It was a little dicey there.
Yeah.
Get the popcorn. All right. So here's the link. This is for call-in. If somebody wants to call in and talk about one of our two topics or any other topic, honestly, Orlando and I are ready to talk. Good morning to Mad City Brew. Hodges, thank you for the video like. Eric does not pay for likes on this channel, only on Carlos's channel. Philly Joe, good morning. How is Philly? I was in Philly last weekend, so. Random Exports, hello. This is fun. Yes, hopefully it will be fun today. Laura, good morning to you. Baseball Card Curmudgeon, hello. Frank Gostella, you think I got that right? Sounds pretty good. Hoops Hobby Hangout, good morning, sir. Confluence Sports Cards, otherwise known as Ruben Snyder. Hello, Ruben. How are you? Dan and Orlando, that's who we are. Mike J. Hawker, hope you're okay. I know you were in Carlos's chat pretty late last night also. Abel in Vegas. Peter B. Hello, sir. We got Ron Fig. We got Adam's Card Closet. Chris C. Sven. Yank Me Card Steve. Okay, I thought it was a Yankee thing. I don't know if there's going to be any Benny Koff. Maybe I'll show Benny Koff card later on if we're running out of time. Zach Pierce, hello. Phil Necro fan, hello. And Frank said hi already. So let me share the referral link here. Oh, that's a referral link. let me share again the call-in link. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's just getting warmed up today, guys.
There is the call-in link. So we have two topics we wanted to cover this morning, and I wanted to say good morning to Kuderlev and also to the Sports Card Shop. Kuderlev is a Philly guy, I believe, right? Tell me if you're a Philly guy and if you were at the Philly show, because we're going to talk a little bit about card shows. I know, Orlando, you've been going to your local card shows, and I have experienced in recent times that card shows are kind of insane in terms of crowds. And, just wanted to ask you, is that kind of your experience down with all those Florida Man shows?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm in South Florida, so there aren't too many shows in South Florida like there are in Central Florida, where Ham has one every single week over there. And they got a big show at the Tampa Fairgrounds today, which I hear is going to have around 400 tables. But wow. Here in South Florida, we have smaller shows. There is a show actually today, the first time ever at the Hard Rock Hotel here. That's owned by the Miccosukee Indians, who really handle all the gambling here, all the gaming. But there is a show there, which is the first one. I won't be attending, unfortunately. But the shows here in South Florida are extremely busy. I mean, There's a Fort Lauderdale show that goes on every single month, and it's free entrance. So that's a plus. And it's a 2-day show, Friday and Saturday. and it was extremely busy. I mean, you could barely get in and out. I mean, I talked to a few of the dealers because I know pretty much all the dealers there. And one of the dealers, when I got there, it was Saturday morning, and I asked him how Friday was, and he said that his case was like half emptied, that he had to, pull out
Yeah.
stuff from everywhere because he said, and this is a small show. I'm talking about it's probably a 50 to 60 table show. And he said he had sold over $13,000 worth of cards just that Friday night, which was a short night. Friday it opens from 4 to 9.
Yeah.
And he says, I've got to restock. He says, and like all the other dealers told me the same thing, that they're having super busy days, that vintage is very hot, and that the biggest problem that they have right now is keeping up with their inventory. They just don't have enough inventory to put in their cases right now. So I think that's the big issue. So the hobby's on fire.
Yeah. So I'll get into the Philly show in a little bit, but I did want to point out this Shipshewana. There were videos from Shipshewana, and I forget, maybe it was Theo, it might have been Neo, talked about the like the Swiss cheese effect, going all around to the tables and seeing like like the holes in it. Oh, there goes the internet for there. And okay. Anyway, there we go. You're back? You're back. Okay.
Yeah, you were just breaking up.
The Shipshewana show had like people running out of inventory like crazy. Like there were holes in people's in people's display cases, and that's a problem. Now, when I was at the Philly show, the after party, which was fun, and that's not what we're talking about now, but I was talking to Stan Locke, and Stan was like, I don't know how I'm going to get inventory because we got Chicago next week, which is right now. The Chicago Sports Spectacular Show started last night. I got a nice text from Mitchell, our friend Mitchell, who scored some cards last night. He said it wasn't all that crowded on Friday, but that's not necessarily what you would expect, that Saturday's the day that people are going to be there. So I'm looking for reports from Chicago. We've got reports here from the Palm Beach Card Show is growing, 700 to 800 people this fall. It's a card show in Phoenix today at Chase Field. Yeah, it's insane. And then Kudalev, he was at Dallas yesterday, parking. Yep. Do you go to trusted sponsor shows? Are these newer shows initiated by new sponsors? That's a good question.
Well, the shows that I go to is just a local show, and he really doesn't have any sponsors. They do have JSA that goes there every 3 months, but we really don't have any. There's no PSA or anything like that. There's a dealer there that will take. He's one of these guys that does take orders, for PSA and SGC. But overall, it's just it's just a small local show, just some small local dealers. We do get some dealers that come from Tampa and Central Florida and Naples and Fort Myers, but for the most part, it's just local guys. Specifically, what people are buying, I think a lot of lower, the mid-grade vintage is what I see people buying a lot of. If anywhere from grades, 3 to 5, from cards in the 50s and 60s. They're relatively cheap. Most of the time you can get them for $50 or less than $100. And I see that's what's moving here real quick. I don't see a lot of the high-end cards moving, but again, this is a smaller show. It's not like Dallas.
Yeah, there was a report from I saw Chris from Missouri's video on this, and I know that he was set up with his friends Tom and Coop, and also Joe was set up and Mike was set up, and Chris also said the same thing, that he was just getting clobbered on inventory. So it is a thing.
Yeah, especially cars like the ones that Chris sells. I mean, Chris himself said he took over 300 slabs and pretty much sold about half of them there at the show.
Well, I brought this picture for you for us to look at. If anybody's seen my Philly video, which has actually done quite well, considering the numbers I've been getting lately, but this picture was my first picture. And if you could see on the far right, there's like what looks like a little house part. That's the entrance. And so you've got the entrance to the Philly show, and you got this line coming all the way down to the corner where those two kids are with the blue and the orange sweatshirt is where the corner goes. And then I took a second picture looking down the side of the building. And if you scroll in on that picture on my phone all the way, you still can't tell the end of the line. And this is the line at about, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday at the Philly show. And I had never seen anything like this before.
Yeah,
I've seen the line.
A friend of mine,
Yep.
Lou from New York, went to the show, and he was sending me pictures of the line. And he also said that he had to park about half a mile away. I guess it was like a Home Depot parking lot or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he said that the parking lot was full when he got there. And he got there, it was around 11 o'clock, and he said it was already jam-packed.
Yeah. I mean, I got there at 10 after 10, and it was like this. I had to do the thing where I just parked, like half a mile out. It's like in this giant complex where there's the big expo center, but then there's these other businesses that block parking now. But then there's like a BJ's, and it has a huge parking lot. So I had to park all the way over where the BJ's was. And yeah, it's insane. But I don't know. My question to you, Orlando, is this, because somebody just said this I should have kept it up there. These just booming shows, attendance out of, down the block. Is this a sign of things to come? Like this is going to be that you've reached the peak and now it's going to be going downhill. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the future is in the next year or so?
No, I disagree. I think we're in the middle of it, and I think it's going to continue to go up. I mean, I go to the show, like I said, I can only judge it by a couple of shows that I go to locally here. But I saw people that I've never seen at the show. I had one person that came up to me and sees my videos and said that this is the first show they've been to in almost a couple of years. And, I saw a couple other people, and I just kind of asked them, because I'd never seen them at the show. And usually I could see a lot of the regulars, and I just kind of asked people, is it your first time at the show? And a few people told me, yeah, this is the first time I've come to this show. So you're getting a lot of new people coming in. And I think that it's just, we're in the middle of it. I mean, I think it's going to get better and better and better. And, not just Pokemon, because you see the Pokemon a lot. And that's always a ton of people, but I am seeing a lot more vintage people coming in. There's still the modern guys with the Pelican cases out there, and you see them, and the young kids. But I did see a lot of older people that are into vintage that I normally don't see. And a couple of people that I talked to were vintage guys in their 50s and 60s, and they said it was their first show in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I think it's a confluence of a whole bunch of different issues that are sort of bringing people to the hobby. One of which is that, the growth from COVID is continued, and some people got out of the hobby, but at least it put the hobby in a public face. You also have celebrities, with cards around their neck, and I just think it's kind of it feels like that period in the mid to late 80s when things started to become kind of popular in popular culture, and that's when you start getting big crowds.
One thing I didn't notice, there's usually two big dealers that have unopened wax. I mean, these guys have 6-7 tables full of unopened wax, and I didn't see as much traffic or as much sales. And I talked to one of the guys, his name, what we call him Whitey, and he goes to the Tampa shows, and he comes down to the South Florida shows. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said that his business was good, but it wasn't great. So I do feel that a lot less people are buying wax, unopened wax. I think a lot more people, from what I've seen, are buying singles now, which I think is a great thing for the hobby. Because I think they're realizing that, they're not going to get a lot of big hits out of these wax boxes anymore like they used to.
Yeah, well, of course, the price of wax boxes is kind of a deterrent. But Adam's got a good point here. And I could say this from the Philly show. If you look at the pictures on the line there, a lot of kids. And to me, that's a great thing. That's an absolutely great thing. If there are kids in the hobby, that means the hobby has a future. And, you and I are people who are a little up in you. We're not octogenarians or septuagenarians yet, but we're there. We're getting there. And, I'm not going to be around forever. These cards will be, though. And somebody hopefully will be still in the hobby to own them. And those kids are, you don't see kids at the vintage tables, but, they'll learn.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of kids. And I think kids that are not the kids with the Pelican cases and stuff, because you see those, but I think kids that came with their parents. I saw a mom with 2 small boys, and that was always good to see that, that I guess the kids dragged their mom over there. And they were getting some packs, but they were also looking through the dollar boxes, which was a good thing to see.
Well, I could say this. Somebody said in one of the chats before that if they saw that line that I just showed from the Philly show, they wouldn't even go in. I was actually fortunate. There he is. Look who it is.
Hey, John. Good to see John. All right, from his basement.
It's the first time in a long time it's not industry hotline. It's actually hobby hotline. So I thought I'd call in.
Industry first time caller?
Yeah.
First time caller, long time listener.
Partially. I can't hear anymore, so I don't listen very well. So rarely listening.
Have you been to any shows lately?
I missed the Philly show. I was out of town last week. I don't know when the last show I've been to. It's probably Philly in December. But what I tell people, there's a show every day on eBay. I just got back from the West Coast where I hit Burbank. I hit Peninsula Sports Card, Stephen Creek Sports Card, that awesome card shop in Vegas. So I kind of try to create my own shows, right? So I hit 5 card stores in this past week in 5 different cities. So that's how we build our own. We build our own when it isn't being built for us. Philly's a huge autograph show, so it's kind of difficult to navigate in there sometimes, as Dan will tell you. But it's still a great show.
Let me show you a picture. Another picture. So there was talk that it was the Philly show in at the autographs, because there were really, really good roster of autograph people.
Yep. And
certainly the autograph lines were big and stuff, but inside the show itself, it was really packed too. So it wasn't just people online to get, I don't know who.
And the aisles aren't small there. Like you can go to Dallas and you get choked up pretty quickly in the aisles. The Philly aisles are normal people size aisles, regardless of, you have your occasional strollers and Pelican cases and stuff, but it's still pretty big aisles and it's still packed. So, the parking, Dan will tell you, the parking's a madhouse there in Philly. Yeah. You almost need a shuttle bus. So it's a great show. It has something for everybody, but this may come as a surprise, but I'm not a big crowd guy, so I like to avoid people. So like I said, you create your own opportunities out there. And, yeah. And I'm mad at your boy Stan Locke there, Dan. Your boy Stan Locke is talking out both sides of his mouth. So,
what?
Well, he had a Ray Keating card for me. Then he sold it out from under me. He said he'd find me another one. And I got the 14 Cracker Jack Ray Keating. And then he ended up getting another one. So he's I'm mad at Stan right now, even though I love him.
Yeah, proof of life for Keating. John, we missed you at the get together. How was it? It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, did Eddie Plank make an appearance again or no?
No, but
Sherry Maggie.
He brought
the Maggie.
The Maggie error card. So he comes up to me And he's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, Eddie Plank guy, Holmesy, how you doing?" Shake his hand. He says, "I got another card for you." He shows me the card, and it's the Mickey era card. I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
I'm friends
So
with his. I'm really good friends with his. Yeah, I'm good friends with his twin brother, who probably wasn't there, but his twin brother's a collector too. So we talk all the time about his brother, about Jim, and it's hilarious. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have any kids. Doesn't have a mortgage. Doesn't have any distractions. So man, imagine life. Like that. You got to buy bread and you got to buy baseball cards. What a
lucky guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him, if he comes to the September get together, he's got to have to bring his Wagner for that one. So
he's got a Wagner, huh? He tells you he's got a Wagner.
He doesn't have a Wagner, but so Leighton, Leighton is going crazy about this because he's like, wait, this guy got like, he put a video up. It's on his channel that that Holmesy told the story of how he ended up with that plank card, and it's a crazy story. I mean, he was basically like, keeping an eye out for just random auctions, like estate auctions.
Yeah,
and it popped up.
Yeah, he's got all the time in the world.
Yeah. But who wants a Wagner when you can get a $5.2 million Aaron Judge card?
My wife asked me about that this morning. She was watching something. She goes, "Oh, you know about that card that sold for $5 million?" And I said, "The Wagner?" She goes, "No, it's some Yankees guy." And I'm like, "Oh." So I guess it was a Judge card, huh?
Some Yankees guy.
Yeah, it's a great way to turn $5 million into $500,000 and then $50,000. Just buy a Aaron Judge card like that, right?
Yeah, I agree completely with that.
So this is I have a different experience from this comment. Few and fewer good deals at shows anymore. It seems buying the same 2 to 3 deals at every Kansas City area show. I'm sorry for you in Kansas City, but at the Philly show, I just all the regular guys were there, and I bought from a lot of the regular guys. But there were other dealers there that normally aren't there. They had 1,000 tables. You're going to end up with people getting in now who've been on the waiting list for how many years. So I really think that there actually are more dealers in this space now, particularly when it comes to vintage.
Yeah, but Matt's a good guy. He collects Kansas City Royal cards. I've seen him at the Dallas show. He's what I think he's being. What I get from that is that like the shift changed from when we were kids or even when we were adults, and now everybody at a show is a dealer, regardless of what side of the aisle on. So the people that are on that wait list and are getting in might not be the dealers that we grew up with, and they're dealers that are more. It's comp v comp, right? Your comp versus my comp, which never really used to be the case. There was always a little, back and forth between dealers and collectors, and now it seems like it's more B2B now than it is B2C, and it's the new generation or new generations, and that just doesn't go for recent COVID stuff, but even junk wax here or beyond, they just do business differently. There's not a lot of the B2C. It's just everybody appears to be running a business now, whether regardless what side of the aisle on.
Yeah, even most of us collectors, there used to be trade nights where you actually traded. Trade nights is just another show now. Yeah. It's just collectors just putting their cards out on display, and it's trade for cash.
And the more shows you have, right? Like we know shows are popping up all over the place. You only have so many older school dealers, and I'm not going to tell you what's right or what's wrong. I have my opinions, but you have there's just a newer way of doing business, and it's gonna it's more apparent with more shows and more dealers because everybody, like I said, everybody's a business right now, it seems.
So, shows coming up for you, Orlando?
Just Strongsville. I mean, I can't wait for Strongsville. That's pretty much what I'm saving up all my money and send some cards to CIA auctions. John's right on the ball there. I'm selling cards, and I was one that really for years I didn't want to sell any of my cards. But again, as we get older, we realize that we got so much stuff. And my kids don't want all that stuff. They rather have the cash. So for me, I'm retired, so I got to sell cards to get cards. So that's what I'm in the process of doing now. I mean, I took some cards to sell at the local show, and I've got some cards at CIA auction, and I'm bringing some cards for trade night. And that's going to be my budget for Strongsville. So, I mean, we're less than 30 days away now.
What are you looking to buy at this point in your collecting career, Orlando, when you're one of those guys that's probably has seen most everything? What are you angling to do at this point instead of, obviously you're not just offloading your cards.
Right. I'm looking for cards that, I've always wanted and never really was able to get. I don't have the 49 Leaf or the 52 Jackie. So those are two cards that I'd love to have. Either one of those would be awesome. And, I also collect football, some of the older football. So I'll be looking for probably some of the Chico cards. And I don't think I can afford the Nagurski anymore. That's gone out of range. But there's also some nice Sport Kings cards that I'm looking at, stuff like that.
Do you have a different, or when did you cross the bridge to the, I feel like now if you're going to buy those cards, say you buy a Nagurski, you're looking at it. I don't look at any purchase as a temporary purchase. You're looking at it now at this stage of your life as what? You're just basically renting this card because, there's a point, and I'm still at that point where all my cards are going to be with me forever. I'm going to cross a bridge at some point where I'm like, oh, I have to start getting rid of my cards. Do you look at that like a Nagurski or a 52 Jackie any different than any of the other purchases you made 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking more to consolidate my collection because I have just thousands of cards. I mean, just so much that I've got 2 closets full of cards, plus a whole bunch in the garage, which are mostly just the 5,000 count boxes.
Right.
So it's gotten to a point where, I'm trying to get rid of a lot of the lower end cards just to get cards that I've always wanted. And those cards I do intend to have, until I'm in my deathbed.
For the long run. Yep, I got you.
For the long run, just cards, I've been, last year I went to the National and Strongsville and I picked up, a couple of Ty Cobb cards that I wanted. I picked up the green Ty Cobb at the National, which I've always wanted, never was able to afford. So just cards that for me were cards I've always dreamed of and never had. And I'm using a lot of the stuff that I've collected over the years that, 5 years ago, I said I would never sell. But, after I got my cancer diagnosis, I said, you know what, it's probably time for me to move on with some of this stuff. Right. And now I'm feeling fine, back to normal, but I want to get to the point where I can get cards that I've always dreamed of, but never been able to afford. And that's kind of my angle right now.
Yeah. And, secondary to that, but one of the benefits of that is most of those cards would be rather have some easy liquidity to them too. The higher up you get with that, the easier it is for, somebody else to deal with should something happen. Right. So
yeah.
I've got hundreds of thousands of cards that people have zero interest in. So at some point I'm going to have to turn those into cards that maybe my family can, easily offload at some point.
Yeah. Well, like you, I was a set builder, so I've moved a lot of my sets, and right now I'm decided to break up my 59 set, right. And I sent some of those cards over to CIA, and I ended up selling at the National my Gibson rookie, because my Gibson rookie, I had it raw and it graded an 8, and I said this is my opportunity to get a lot of money for that card.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a few cards for that, including the Venezuelan Jackie Robinson Retirado card,
right?
Which is another card I've always wanted. So I picked that up, selling my Gibson rookie.
So when are we going to get some reports from the basement, updates of Keating set building?
Oh my God, it's a mess right now, man. It's an absolute mess. So another thing, you're talking about card shows when I came on or asked me about that. I am, thanks to my friends Cooter and Zach and Bo, I am balls deep in TCDB, where I trade cards. So I trade thousands of cards I get for the cost of a few stamps and stuff like that. So it's just another angle. I've avoiding the big card shows, and then just buying bulk off of Facebook or trading or going to my own card store or going to card stores. You know, the hobby's big enough that nobody should be complaining about where to get cards or how to get cards and all that stuff. I know that there's some points in the hobby that are difficult right now at ComC and some other places, but there's always an angle for people like me who collect everything. There's always an angle. So I never have something. I'm never bored in my basement, and I never have a lack of things I need to do with my collection, whether it's logging duplicates, listing stuff on eBay, or sorting or rearranging and all that stuff. So I'm a couple years. I'm probably about 5 to 10 years behind where I should be, but it's incredible. It's incredible down here. I love it, and it's the best place in the world. I'll take this place over any place in the whole world.
Yeah, I mean, shows for you. I've been at shows with you. You have your binder with all the needs and stuff, and buying singles to fill sets, I found is not a financially intelligent thing to do. So what I do is I buy giant bulk.
Thank you for
things.
calling me an idiot, Dan. I appreciate that.
No, you just said you buy bulk, and then you take the bulk and you trade your extras and you fill in your set. I mean, to me, that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
You know, of course, I bought a giant bulk box of 68 to finish my set, and I ended up just getting like tons of extras. So,
but to me, that's fun. Like that's fun because they're like in my work life, I make order out of chaos, right? And that's kind of when you buy a bulk lot and I buy bulk. I came home from my trip with a couple thousand cards. I'll buy a couple shoe boxes of bulk. There's a particular store I go to. I'm not going to tell anybody where or what city, but I always buy bulk, sight unseen, because when you collect everything, there's no risk. You're going to fill out some sets and stuff like that. So 11,200 plus different sets I have cards from right now.
Wow.
Nice.
That just keeps growing.
So this comment here, I think, is the anti-set builder comment, which I totally disagree with, and it's not consistent with my experience. I open up binders all the time. I was looking through 2 of them yesterday, through sets that I have, and building my 52 Bowman set. And I got in a whole bunch yesterday and went through, and I saw cards that I'd had for a while, and I just enjoy going through and looking at them. Some of these sets, card after card after card, are just fantastic. So I don't file them away. I mean, they're right. One's right here, one's right here, others are right here. So you can always look at them.
And you know how I look at my set when I do buy a bulk, whatever it is, vintage or whatever. I have the opportunity to upgrade. So if I get a bunch of 68s, I've had the 68 set done for a very long time. If I get a bunch of 68s, guess what? I'll look through my set to see if there's any condition upgrades in that. And then guess what? I'm looking through my sets. You know what I mean? It's there's plenty of opportunity for me to look through my sets, which is great. And I'm not going to pretend to tell you how to put your set. I have sets in factory boxes. I have sets in 800 count boxes. I have sets in binders. So we have all sorts of kind of sets everywhere. But and that's what set building is fun. Every time you add a card, you're going to see a bunch of other cards when you're adding it in. So it's just it's a hobby for a reason. I'm finding enjoyment. It's not a competition for me. So if you feel like it's competition, then maybe it isn't as much fun. But to me, it's a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I use ComC myself. I mean, I've sent hundreds of cards over there. I have broken up some sets, so I send a lot of the stuff over there. And I bought some cards from ComC recently that I just got in to finish a set that I hadn't finished.
Right.
So I use ComC a lot for that too. But unfortunately, ComC has just raised their prices. Dan, I don't know if you knew that. They literally doubled their prices right now. So that's kind of crazy.
So it's to me, it's just another example of, again, we're in a unique hobby and a nuanced hobby, and trying to fit that into traditional business structures and formulas. It part of the joy of the hobby is it doesn't fit into that. That's why card shows are interesting, and that because I always say the secondary market is undefeated, because it's very difficult to apply traditional business practices to our hobby, because there is, we're all doing what we want. We're not doing what they want. So ComC for a very long time, I guess, was successful, but it's become more and more difficult to. Collectors aren't conforming to their structure, so their structure can't conform to collectors because then they're not going to make any money. So I guess now there's a line in the sand, and we'll see how that goes for them in the future. I understand costs and expenses continue to go up, but don't tell that to the person who wants to collect 18-cent cards. The 18-cent card is going to be 18 cents for the next 5, 10, 15 years. So it's difficult for people to do that. It's that kind of market, and ComC does a lot of bulk stuff too. It's difficult for people to find deals on that. When that's the case, they're going to find it difficult to do business eventually, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with this. I found that card shows, I find stuff there that I can't find online. It's the way I collect, and so I think they're actually kind of efficient in a way.
And it depends on which show, right?
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Modern, that may be the case because it's like, wow, but you guys are looking at Yuengling cards and caramel cards and all that stuff, and it's like, it's not. You don't see them everywhere, so it depends on what you're after. If you go into a show and the same one of 50 or 49, you have 3 or 4 of them in a showcase, that's difficult. But when you see the cards that you guys are looking for, and you don't see them that often. Mine was for a very long time the 1914 Cracker Jack Keating, right?
Yeah.
I only saw that at one show ever. And I ended up getting that card through very bizarre circumstances. That very card ended up in my basement. It was Stan's card from his collection at the National. He was selling it because he just got a new one. So then he said he'd price it for me. Then he turned out selling it at Boston for way more than I would have paid for it. That card ended up on eBay for less than what Stan sold it for. And then it was listed by Dean's Cards. So then I went to Dean's Cards website, and it was listed there for less than what Dean was selling it for on eBay. I ended up getting it for about $400 less than what Stan sold it for a couple months earlier. So it's very bizarre. But I'm saying, like, that's these cards that show up, and I don't know how modern collectors think, but like we get to a point where we have seen stuff come and go and regret not buying it, and that's a card right there. Like a couple times, you go on eBay now. I think Stan's got one for like $2,900 for an authentic 1914 Keating. You just don't see him that much. So thankfully, you learn a lesson, and then you react, and then you get a little creative on how to get that. I certainly wasn't going to pay Stan $2,000 for that card. I ended up getting it for a lot less through weird means, but that's part of the fun. That's part of the creativity of the hobby that doesn't necessarily translate. The industry doesn't see that creativity and doesn't know how to react to it, thankfully.
Well, one of the good things now is that, we have, through modern internet stuff, you can go through so many different auction houses, just more than ever. Even the dealers themselves have their own site. I mean, you look at Ash, and he's got cards on eBay, but he has them on his own site, and you can get it cheaper. You got Garrett from Ballpark Memories has his own website. So a lot of these dealers, even the smaller dealers, have their own sites, and you can get stuff a lot cheaper there than you can get on eBay. I mean, even some auction houses like CIA, you can get really good deals there. And there's just so many options. And now you got Leighton Sheldon that started the Auction Wire, where you can search there, and they search every single auction house. Well, not yet, but they will, in the industry. So there's just so many options for collectors right now to find the specific cards that you need. And, like John said, you got to be patient, because you'll find those cards eventually. They're out there. The key is to get them at the right price. And that's where sometimes eBay is not the best. And sometimes the auction houses aren't the best, but sometimes they are. You just never know. You got to, we got options, and that's what's important now.
So listen, here's something that I abide by, right? Plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. So if you have a plan to go to a show to get a card and it's not there, we've talked about it before, like you have that single focus on getting a card. then and you're not there, then the show's a bust. But planning for everything, whether it's a break or whether it's I'm talking about like maybe an Ashes break, Facebook Marketplace or Facebook, Twitter, auction houses, all that stuff. Like there's a lot of options out there. And if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, then I'm not sure that that's the right way to do it. So, you can have a plan, but it's going to be as soon as Mike Tyson says, right? As soon as somebody gets punched in the nose, the plan goes out the window. But Dwight Eisenhower said that about plans. Plans are useless. Planning indispensable. So be ready for anything at any time. Pivot, all that stuff. It should be. That's how I operate in my professional life, but it helps me in my my hobby. And hobbies are supposed to be fun, not filled with angst on whether you're going to find the card at that show or whatever. Just take it as
my Philly experience this time was a good indication of mixing the both, because Stanlock put pictures of his cases up on IG. So I am scrolling and then zooming in on his pictures, and I found the card that I wanted, that I knew going into the show already what I was looking for. And I did. I got it.
There you go.
Caramel card.
Lies
you were
away.
right. And I had a plan. My plan was to bring an extra Cracker Jack card that I knew Stan was going to want, and it ended up being really good because he ended up wanting it for his own collection, and that really worked out. So I got a trade cash deal for the card that I saw before I even left New York City. So there you go.
Stan's. Right. What's interesting about Stan's table, I think everybody should know this or knows this, but those are all duplicates for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm not sure how many dealers are doing that in that volume the way he does it. It just blows me away that those are his dupes. And he's the same way. He's a collector who's upgrading. So the 14 Cracker Jack Keating became available because he had gotten another one. He had won a better one in an auction, a 1 or 1.5. So that's one of the things I love about Stan is he's a collector, and those are all his duplicates.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, didn't you upgrade one of his cards?
Yeah.
You sold him a Cracker Jack.
Exactly. And then 2 days later, he sends me a text. The show's already over. He's already, home. And he sends me a text. He says, "Look at this. Look at how much you upgraded me." And he was really happy. And I was like, wow, I just made this guy happy.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
John was talking about all the different places that you can get cards. And, if your friends is another way to get cards. And one of the guys that, became friends with him, but he follows me on my channel and stuff, Mark Dodgers Cards. He was checking Facebook and he found a card that he thought would be something I would look for. And he immediately texts me, puts me in contact with that person, because I really am not on Facebook Marketplace and stuff. And I was able to pick up this Armando Marsan's card, and it's a Wild Baking. It's the only one. It's the only one that exists. And he saw that. It's a 1917 Wild Baking. Yeah. And as soon as he saw it, he says, this has got to go into Orlando's collection. Text me, put me in contact with the guy on Facebook Marketplace, and I ended up picking that up. And it's a one of one. It's the only one that exists. So I would have never found that card if it wasn't for all these marketplaces and some friends knowing the kind of stuff that I collect and contacting me about that.
You know what the only thing wrong with that card is, Orlando, is that it can't tell its story, its journey. Like what has that card gone through in the last nearly 110 years? I would love to hear that card tell its story.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What is that? New Orleans? Did it say in the back? Is that where the bank is?
It's New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me, man.
It's Wild Baking.
Yeah. How many New Orleans summers did that thing have to survive?
You can imagine. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's in poor condition.
Got the address on it.
Complete.
Yeah.
I love that it has the address of the factory. And what I do is I will now, if I had that card, I would go on Google Maps and I would look it up and I would see what's at that address now. And I did that recently with the import, what's it called? I can't remember the name. Import card from like the 34, and the factory still exists. It's in New York City. It's like 10 minutes from here. So I walked over there and the building is still there.
It's a Starbucks now, probably, right?
Yeah.
I listen. I'm a weirdo, dude. I drive past old houses and old buildings and wonder what's inside those walls or what's in that attic, and it's fun. You know, I've always had an imagination, so it's fun to think about like what's hiding behind the plaster or what's in the attic or what's in the basement and stuff like that. Because they're still out there, and there's we know that cards are gonna. There's a good portion of cards that are still out there undiscovered, meaning behind a wall or something. And unfortunately, they're going to die. Most of them are going to die a horrible death unless by chance somebody is doing a renovation and happens to find them. Otherwise, they're going to get hit with a bulldozer and get knocked over and be relegated to history, I guess.
Well, it was
Any
incredible
tip
that
on
Leighton
organizing collection?
I say it was incredible that Leighton even found a Wagner card. I mean, that was great. Somebody had that in their, in a picture frame.
Yeah,
crazy.
There's still after, and it's not like, there's you guys know this. There's a lot of cards that we weren't talking about 30, 40 years ago that are hot right now. Again, the caramel cards, the Yanklings, even the Cracker Jacks.
Exhibits.
But everybody's, everybody's known about the Wagner for decades and decades and decades. So the fact that they still kind of pop up now and then.
I said late, but I meant Golden foundation.
Golden, yeah.
What do you think, John? You got any tips on organizing your collection?
Well, I mean, forever.
You got a collection is such a broad term these days, right? Let me ask you guys, how many cards do you think you guys have in your collections each? Dan, how many do you have in your collection?
I don't know, 20,000 maybe.
Okay.
Far less than you.
How about you, Orlando?
I've got over 50,000.
Yeah. And Dan, I know you've gone through some trauma with your cards due to natural events and all that stuff. So your collection might have been bigger at this point, but
yeah, the good news about that, it was the Hurricane Sandy in my parents' basement in 2012. Is that most of what I lost was the junk wax stuff, boxes of Score and 87 Donruss and that kind of stuff. And so I did lose vintage cards. I remember opening up a binder and seeing a 1971 Clemente literally like stuck together and moldy, and it was just awful. But for the most part, I would say my vintage survived most of it,
except for the 64 Giants, right? You lost those
64 Giants. Yeah, I did throw out a whole set of 64 Giants. That's true. I can't believe you remembered that. I had forgotten.
I can't remember I can't remember. My dog has to guide me home when I'm walking him. I don't know where I live, but I can remember stupid crap like that for some odd reason. So the number one rule of being organized is the more you have, cut yourself enough slack to realize you're a little bit disorganized. I like to say I'm between 95 and 99% organized, meaning correctly logged into TCDB, which is my database of choice, having moved on from Beckett a few years back, knowing where stuff is, accuracy, all that stuff. So what I think is the more you have, the more leniency you should cut yourself, give yourself a little bit more break, knowing that you're not going to be 100% organized, right? And it has nothing to, it's not a cognitive thing. It's just that when you're dealing with numbers and names and stuff like that, it's human nature that we get things sort of, the more opportunities we have, the more we may mess something up. So just take it easy on yourself to realize you might not be 100% organized with the more stuff you have. I know that's, again, this is a hobby, right? We're not talking about, a lot of us do some interesting things in our professional life. Just because we're that doesn't mean, we have to be that way in the basement. And that's one of the problems or things I have right now is like this hobby is supposed to be a respite from the real world. Okay. Because there's enough pressures, whether it's in our family life or our work life, there's enough pressures there that we have to meet head on and all that stuff. The hobby shouldn't be that it shouldn't be a pressure cooker. And one of the problems now is, real life has like barged its way into the hobby. Pricing, we're competitive on pricing, we're entitled, we're this, we're that, and all that stuff. Like it's still a hobby. And that's what you have to remember, whether you're organizing whatever. If you're into a hobby, and I'm into it for the hobby, there's people that are here. I say there's people that are their hobby is the hobby. My hobby is collecting cards. Okay, so enjoy it and don't put pressure on yourself. There's a guy on TCDB that was going on about how he's a database manager and all his prices need to be accurate and matched up. I'm like, if you're worried about that, man, like you're in the wrong hobby, because it's always been a little bit of chaos in the hobby. So
Yeah, definitely. The hobby's supposed to be for fun and to relieve all the stress of the world.
I love this comment.
Yeah. Oh, there was a comment from Fanine. Fanine made a comment on the 54 Wilson Franks.
Yes.
I just then went into CIA auction. So if you're interested for April, there's a 54 Wilson Franks Enos Slaughter that's autographed that I sent in. So if you're interested in that one, it'll be in next month's auction. Yeah, those are beautiful cards. I love that. One day, that's another card I'd love to get, the Ted Williams.
Yeah.
That's always been a dream card of mine.
Flying Wieners.
Yeah, I love those cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few from this. I have Erskine also, but this is the best one. It's the Feller.
Yeah,
I love this card. Feller's smiling at the hot dogs.
Hey,
I think
listen,
it's Feller who's frowning at them.
This is going to be taken as a dig, and maybe it was intended that way. I'm not going to tell anybody. When's the last time you saw a beautiful card made? You know what I mean? Like those cards right there look like artwork to me. I mean, regardless of the value.
Yeah.
Looks like that Feller card is just a gorgeous piece of art. I'm not sure, I really like, I really like a lot of the stuff that was made between 95 and 2005 or even 2010. You have the UD masterpieces and you have the newer Turkey Reds. I really love that, but I feel like there's nothing lately that
piece of art
approaches that. Look at that. Yeah, looks like he's holding a wiffle ball bat right there. Yeah, that's me, man. That's me in the alley. Yeah,
but it's like the red and the green and the yellow, and he's smiling, and it's just the composition is fantastic. Yeah. Things today are
this is what things are today. Somebody's going to say that's a cool looking card. There's 15 variations of this card. It's just a different color,
Yeah. Wow.
Sorry.
40,000 hours. That's at my rate, my work rate. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I can't. How do you count that high? I mean, did that chap log in? He logs in every. Just hits the button every time he gets into the hobby for 20 minutes.
See, here's the thing. I'm the opposite of that. I have to log those hours in my business. When I'm in my hobby, the time is not kept.
I'm what's called a salaryman, so I don't have to do that stuff, man.
Yeah,
I do budgets, but I don't have to keep track of my hours.
When I'm in here, it's the time stands still. So that's the until somebody comes in and says it's time to do something.
If you love what you're doing, it's not a job.
Right.
Enjoy it. And that's the thing about cards. I don't care how long I play with my cards. It's fun. I enjoy it. I love it.
Hot dogs need cards again.
Yeah.
No, I have a whole speech about that.
Thing.
Yeah.
Because you end up, I have some of those hot dogs cards. I don't know. I forget what they're called, but they got, they're messy. Let's put it that way.
Dan, this has really been a good hobby hotline. We haven't really talked about the industry. We're literally talking about the hobby.
Yeah, we had another topic which was more industry oriented, which we're not going to go to because we're almost at time right now. But a lot of the people in the chat were saying exactly what you're saying right now, Orlando, is that we and John, thank you for calling in.
Yes.
Because Orlando said we should get a call in, and you had a premonition that we would get a great caller, a John Keating sighting, which is always very welcome. And John, I really thank you for coming on and keeping the hobby hotline on the hobby. And so I haven't really been able to keep that up with the chat as much as I would like to, but the chat has been terrific also. So
I'll talk about the industry real quick here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And it kind of blends these last couple of things we've talked about. the hobby who doesn't listen, or the industry who doesn't listen to the hobby. I don't care what anybody says. They don't listen to the hobby. But if they were smart, they would be putting cards on the back of cereal boxes or in, because it's free advertising, right? Remember back in the day, like there was no skin off anybody's teeth. Kellogg's was printing boxes, or Hostess was printing boxes anyway, so there was no added expense. But it's great marketing, right? So why aren't you putting your cards there for free and having somebody else do the advertising? Fanatics could license stuff out to a food manufacturer or a beverage manufacturer, again, at no cost to them, and they would do their marketing for you. If you had a kid who went to, hey, check this out, went to Burger King, and gave your card, 3 of your cards away with a meal, what you're looking for is those 5 or 6 or 10 kids out of 100 that the hobby is going to stick, right? Let Burger King do your marketing for you, right?
Yeah.
And you sit back and you're going to have people buying cards. I think we're so lost in the whole world of ROI and revenue and market share and all that stuff that they don't know how to get the market share. They're trying to protect or grow their market share, they say, but they're not doing anything to do so. The prices are going up, and the only thing I see, Fanatics Fest isn't going to draw as many people in as if you put cards back in hot dogs or Cheetos or whatever, because that's gonna, you have a captive audience and you have a demographic that you can hone in on and put those cards in. I always say the WNBA has lost a big opportunity. They could be putting cards in Girl Scout cookies, right? And think about the market. You want to grow the WNBA with females and males, but get more women into the hobby, which makes will produce more revenue. Put them in Girl Scout cookies, or do this, or like, they're just so myopic in how they're marketing their stuff. Just don't get it.
What a great way to get the kids to go with their moms grocery shopping, get them out of the house.
Yep.
Get the cards in the potato chip bags, get them in the Jello boxes, get them in the Hostess.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
This is a card that was from what's it called? Lake to Lake Milk. Yeah. They stapled it, the milk carton. You can see the staple mark.
That's awesome. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, you can cut them out of the milk boxes. You can put them everywhere. I mean, even the Red Heart dog food.
Or on the bottom of a Jello box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, they're already printing and making those boxes, right? So, like we said about Hostess, Kellogg's was a different deal because they had to insert the cards in there, but it's a slam dunk. But they can't, it's really T-ball versus fastballs. Like it's all teed up from the do. They just can't. They're waiting for a fastball or a slider or a cutter, and the ball's sitting right in front of them on a tee, and they don't want to take a swing. Don't give me this growing the hobby 10x stuff if you're not going to put an effort.
Blame it on the lawyers. It's all about licensing, really.
Well, it's always been about licensing. That hasn't changed in my lifetime, which I'm not as old as most people think, but I was born in '68. It was always about licensing after Marvin Miller, right? And that would have been late '60s. So nothing's changed. And, even when Topps had a monopoly, it did, there was still availability to license things outside of traditional trading cards. And, the back of a Hostess box, in theory, wasn't a trading card, so it didn't violate any license agreements. It was the back of a box. So, it's, you have to think, I think as we spit people out of business school, they start to think everybody's thinking the same instead of like, again, my biggest client is data driven, and I've had to tell them time and time again, be data nuanced, not data driven, because the world does not run off of data. Your miles per gallon on your car isn't the miles per gallon you're going to get. It depends on how many hills you have, depends how you accelerate, all that stuff. It's a nuanced world, and Fanatics would be best to understand that sooner rather than later.
Well, Fanatics got all the young guys doing marketing stuff. I think they need some of us older guys to to do some marketing for them. You know, all they do is market right through the breakers. That's all they're interested in at this point.
Hey, Dan, so you and I take a lot. Well, listen, people like Orlando and Mike Petty think just because they have a great head of hair, they're superior to people like you and I, Dan. And I don't think we should take that line.
I still have some hair left.
Yeah, Mike Petty's probably older than me. And he's got perfect hair, yet he thinks that he's superior than I. And I'm not going to take that. I've got, hey, Mike Petty, unlike you, my roof on my car goes all the way down. You know, you got T-tops, you know, so that's almost like a convertible. Good for you, buddy.
There you go. Well, I refuse to admit that I'm bald. I still have hair.
I'm sorry. I had to break it to you on Hobby Hotline, Dan.
You're killing me. You give me trauma from 15 years ago. Remembering cards that I lost that I forgot that I lost.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to us all, right? Like that happens to us all, and it's not the end of the world that we lost cards because, oddly enough, you know, we talk about the 52 mantle. There's no shortage of those. The prices are high. There's no shortage of those. So anything you and I lost, Dan, probably, you know, doesn't make the hobby news. I'm not sure about Orlando because Orlando's on a different level. But, yeah.
Well, the good news for me is that all that stuff that I lost, even the stuff that I sold and traded away back in the day, I've replaced it all. I have. Yeah, I know what cards I had, and I've got them all back.
Right.
So that was
even though I'm getting older, I mean, cards make me feel like a kid again, and that's really the whole basis of this hobby. It's just, you know, they make you young. You know, they reduce all the stress that you have in your life, and I think that's the best part about the hobby. You know, as a lifelong collector, you know, it's kept me young. It's kept me excited, and there's always something new for me to go after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I've learned that if I mute myself while the sirens are going up First Avenue, it's better for everybody's ears.
Where are you, man? Tehran? Did you move to Tehran?
Literally there's a window right in front of me here that goes right out onto First Avenue, and First Avenue has ambulances going up because there's hospitals all along First Avenue, and it's the UN and the NYU hospital, all that stuff. So it
sounds like a very charming place to live, Dan.
It's a very traveled thoroughfare, but it's charming place. Charming is not really the word, you know, but there's so much happening, and there's never a boring moment in this city. So
I like
speaking
boring.
of speaking of boring moments. There weren't any boring moments in this show, and I just, you know, the chat has said it, and they're right that you know, it's nice for a Hobby Hotline to be only about the hobby, and so I have two of my favorite hobby guys on with me, and I really appreciate Orlando. Obviously, we've done many shows together, but we never did a Hobby Hotline together. Hopefully, we will again soon. And John Keating, you know, always welcome to hang out with you, be in person or virtual. So I'm going to close
in a couple
it up.
Years, guys.
We're over a little over an hour, but certainly been a great show. And like I said, the chat, great for them. And so I'm going to run the outro. Take care. Hobby Hotline will be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And hopefully, I don't know when I'm hosting in April, but I'll be hosting in April at some point. So we will see you guys again.